Translation can accept the path.
Okay, there is a Zoom session started.
Okay. Thank you.
And what?
Come in.
Come in. I've lost something here. There it is. Why is that thing talking?
Oh, my clock's still running. I like that.
Okay, I know that it's always fun to do Kahoot with Java code. That's why the Zoom is running, so you can see things. Let's get in this Kahoot for me. Kahoot.it. Here's your code. Yeah, there's a Zoom session. He's going to get everything on there. Amazingly enough, I have Kahoots for all these Java FX chapters. We should have lucky 13. Get everybody in here. One more, one more, one more. Oh my goodness, I'm going for it. You ready? Here we go. Java Action Event Handler contains a method. Huh? No, you can't change it. I don't think you can. It's like HQ, you're just stuck. That was pretty good. Pretty impressive. To register a source for an action event with a handler, use I thought I was going to win HQ last night. I finally got to like 11. I could never win. Oh, that was good. You guys are pretty good. Pretty well spread out. The time set to be long. Which of the following statements are true? Three and four. Our handler is registered and a source object fires an event. Which statement is true about a non-static inner class? That would be an inner class. Lots of words for a Kahoot there, huh? So yeah, it can access instance variables or class variables from the class that it's within, even though it's kind of hidden. Okay, to handle a mouse click event on a pane P, register the handler with P using you tell her. Oh, really good. Very, very good. Must not have been too long. Beat everybody else. Which of these methods is not defined in the animation class? Ooh, very good. Jim's taking over. A Java FX action event handler is an instance of.
Oh, I meant stuff.
I heard a lot of groaning on that one. You don't even know yet.
Oh,
I don't know, maybe it'll be different.
Not this much groaning. Jim's up here just killing it. A Java FX event handler for event type T is an instance of.
Might have something to do with that. Check the practice quiz like 3 times yesterday.
You got it, huh? We'll get to our generics after spring break. Make more sense. Very good. I am.
Do anything awesome,
Well, I don't know.
or do you just have to worry about school?
No, I'm not going to worry about school. I'd like to go to New Orleans to see my daughter, but she doesn't. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys can come down. A is an interclass in test. A is compiled into a file named. Spring break's a great time to go to New Orleans because it's after Mardi Gras, so it's pretty quiet, pretty clean. My daughter hates French Quarter.
I was
We have
down
to
there
go
like
there.
one time.
She feels like you will die.
You should go to the World War II museum. if you ever go.
I hate the World War II Museum. Oh my God, I hate it so bad. I mean, you just mentioned it, my skin crawl because it is so crowded. You can't see anything and people will push you. And oh my God, they are so rude. It's the one time I've been there, you can tell it was not a good experience. But it was overpopulated. The museum staff was negligent in letting so many people in. It should not have had that many people in it. My daughter's boss, while we're waiting here, at the library said he was there one day and they had a World War II vet presenting, like talking to the crowd, telling them about his memories. And the crowd was so obnoxious, they knocked him over. And people that worked there had to come help the World War II vet get back up because the crowd is just, they're awful. They're just awful. I don't know. It was not a good experience for me. I would much rather just go fight my way through the French Quarter. Okay, suppose A is anonymous interclass in test. A is compiled into a file named. Isn't that the same one? Well, if you got it right, is it different? Just a little different? Because the other one was an anonymous class. Oh, good guessing. Made a difference. So the interclass versus anonymous interclass, and the reason that I put these in the Kahoots is because they really show up a lot in our textbook question bank about those things. So that's why I mentioned them, because it's not really too relevant to us, not a great big deal, but I guess that's why they really want to emphasize it so that you guys are aware. Woohoo! Give everybody a hand. Yay, good job. Okay, I'm closing this one. We Kahooted it. Now let's take a look. For this week, which is today, and next week, we're on chapter 16. So just kind of like we had one of our other chapters at 15 for 2 weeks. Let me see if I can get my password right. We also will this chapter because it's too much content for this one-day week that we had. So chapter 16 finishes up with all the other pieces that we need for doing GUI stuff. So you guys have already used some of these controls that they mentioned at the beginning of the chapter, like buttons, but we're going to add a whole bunch more, all of the other controls that we need to create full GUI applications. So radio buttons and checkboxes, we'll do one of those applications right away. Some text fields. We have a lot of different text type controls, if you've noticed. We have a text area control, and the text area lets us add data multiple lines so we can keep going, whereas a text field is discrete. one line. We're going to look at doing a combo box where we can have a drop-down list of items for somebody to select from. We did a little bit of list view stuff in that very first chapter that we were doing GUI things with, but we'll take it a lot further in this chapter where we'll have some list view items that can be selected to change what we're viewing on the other half of the screen, doing some nice things. We'll see how easy it is to add a scroll bar if we want to, and then slider bars and some different kind of controls like that that we see quite often. Now in this chapter towards the end, they do have a case study that does a whole tic-tac-toe game. They have some controls here that create an entire media player so that we can put play buttons and pause buttons and things like that on there ourselves, so that's kind of handy. And then the very last one we probably do together in class, the case study, is we can have some images and sound and everything all together on our application. So that gives us a full-fledged app. Whenever you guys are using these controls, these JavaFX controls, these are the same kind of controls that you would use if you were using Android Studio to develop an app for Android platform. And then that new application, Kotlin, is going to use the same type of controls. So these things are really beneficial for you to know, and it's also the same type of controls that C# will be using in their newer type of GUI application. So if you remember from a couple chapters ago, all of these controls are derived from the node. So every one of them are a node type of control in Java. You can see which ones are kind of related to each other. So we have all of our text input control fields, text area, text field, and password. Image view and media view, notice, come directly off the node themselves. So they're kind of unique. They're a little bit different. All of our other buttons and checkboxes and everything are derived from other standard controls. So you guys have already been getting used to the set and get methods that are available on all of those controls that are kind of consistent. Whenever we're coding for GUI things, most people like to have a prefix on the controls they put on their form. And in our textbook, they're going to do that for this chapter. So they're going to use these prefixes for the different type of controls. So if we see LBL, that's a label. BT for a button, CHK for a checkbox, RB for a radio button. What do you think TF is? Text field, text area. What about CBO? Combo box. We have our list view. What is SCB? I'm not sure what SCB is. Scroll bar, good. So we have all of our different types of media and prefixes, and that's just a really common way of labeling things on a form so that when you look at it later, you know what kind of control that is. Now that means that if you decide to change the control to a different type, you have to change the control's name. So you'll see some people that don't like doing it that way. Now we're going to look at these UML diagrams. I'm going to click OK on this text box that's in my way. And then I should be able to look at some of the controls for the label. Now the label here, we have our alignment and content display, specifies the position of the node relative to the text. So if you mouse over each of these items in your UML document, it'll tell you a little bit more about that property or that method. So if you're looking for something, these can be really helpful to let you know which property or method to use. So our label has all of these different things that we can do with it. Now let's go ahead and do this little application just because it's going to give us a lot of different things to work with. So let's do this one really quick. Don't copy that code because that won't do you any good. So I'm going to slide this over to the side and open NetBeans. Now we need that US flag, and I think we all got a flag last week. So if you don't have that one, we'll get it for you, or you can just find one online. All of the other things that we're going to add to this form should be things that we can just generate dynamically as we create them, so we won't have to worry. So let's create a new project. And I want this to be listing 16_1. Now our main class, we'll name it like they have, and let's call it label with graphic. Try to zoom in here. Now, one thing that I did have to do on this last assignment that I graded was take off a little bit for comments. So when I open a Java program, do these count as comments? No. What does that make me think if I see these? What would you think if you saw those? If you opened a program that somebody else had written? Would you be excited? Thinking, oh my goodness, this developer is on top of things. No. So we want to make sure those comments are not there, because those are the default canned comments that are coming from NetBeans. So I'm going to come up here and put something that I would like to see maybe a little bit better, like, and with comments, we don't have necessarily a prescribed format that you have to use. I'm sorry, I'm going wrong here. Let me fix things. This program is a label with graphic, and I am the developer. But I mentioned before, when I'm looking at code and I've got NetBeans open and I've got GitHub open and I've got Canvas open, trying to grade your stuff, it sure is nice to see a comment with your name in it. Because it's so nice, I will take more and more off if I don't see those. So for this past assignment, I took 3 points, that's 10%. So that drops you from an A to a B because there weren't any comments. So if I take the full 5 points off, that's going to take you down to a lower B. Don't do that. That's a really, really poor reason to lose those points. But I've had people, oh my God, I've had people in the online class, I can put it in their remarks every single time and say, I don't know why you want to lose these points by not putting any comments, and they still won't put comments. I know there are some Java programmers out there who just refuse to put comments in their code. That's okay. We can have that never-ending battle. I'll just take off points as long as it takes. That's fine. But in the meantime, I'd like to see some comments because it shows that you care. Plus, it does make it much more meaningful to somebody else that's looking at things. Now I'm just going to put a quick purpose. Format GUI with a label. And I think I saw one person's comment. They just had one line across the very top with the program name and their name and the date and stuff. And that was great because it doesn't have to be a whole block, but just so that there's something. Now we could put in here that this was from our Revell textbook, but I usually assume that most of the things that you're doing as a student are going to be things that are textbook related. So usually you're not doing a whole bunch of other things. Now another thing that can be an issue for others, like when I'm looking at your code, when I open your program and it says the author was someone whose name is not you, then I'm going to send you an email or something, or I'm going to put a comment in your program and say, who is this person? A lot of people I know use their girlfriend's laptop, their boyfriend's laptop. It might be that person's name. This is going to be the computer owner probably, or whoever's logged on at the time. So if I see something that's not your name, that's going to make me wonder, are you really the author of this code, or did somebody else create it for you? So I'll ask. The majority of time, you guys have had that you've used somebody else's computer or something completely innocent, but I want you to think about it because your ownership matters. This is here. Whenever we're creating things, you guys are creators. You're creating something that could be used, potentially something that could be copyrighted. Anything you do that documents that you created it is something you could use in a court of law to prove that this was your intellectual property. When you don't comment, you don't do anything like that, then you have less proof that this is your intellectual property if somebody else were to say it was theirs. Yes, sir?
So should we be deleting that author thing and replacing it with the development thing above, or? should we be-
It's up to you because it's kind of something that shows up in your Javadoc. Let's add one more comment and then run a Javadoc and then decide. Right now I've got pretty much everything here. I'm going to add a line to the main method and say this method launches the program. And then I want to go up to our tools. And what I'm looking for is the Javadoc. Now it has an option here to analyze Javadoc, but I just want to see it. Where is it?
Maybe it's under help.
Under help?
It says create missing Javadoc for graphic label. Missing Javadoc.
Where are you?
You look through the analyzer. File not found.
Because we have to generate it. So we should be able to. So you did this one, analyze Javadoc?
You can create it. It's still under the analyzer. Create missing Javadoc. And then click selected.
Yeah, it shouldn't be being that hard. I'll find it. That's all right. If you figure out what it is, let us know. It's what? What'd you do?
I opened up the analyzer and then I clicked on create the missing Javadoc.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Clicked on the big select. I think there's just a variation in the type of method. Version 8.0.2 is on the- If you send them to your listing, then go to the source files, and then the default package, then the program file. There are two options. One for creating the Javadoc for the main, and then one for creating the Javadoc for that document in particular.
Yeah, this one's doing something different. Yeah, I don't see that option.
Yeah, look at the-
Mine's not showing that. So I will find the easy one for you because it's not that hard. So I'll get it. Don't worry. I'll show it to you next time. I'll add it to my never-ending notes. So let's just go with this one because I don't want to waste a bunch of time. But what I wanted to show you is this @author is, of course, an XML tag that's going to be used by our Javadoc. So back to Chris's original question, should we leave this in or take that out? It's fine either way. Just make sure it's you. So if you want to leave it in, make sure it's your name, not Joe's name down the street whose computer you borrowed, because they're not the author, you are. So we'll make sure that's all working good. Okay, let's do this silly thing, and then I'll find our Javadoc or have him show me. David will get us all fixed up here. So for this one, we have a lot of imports. Let's put them in here. Now we could copy But we know that if we copy a bunch, then we have a big mess in trying to get them all straightened out. We want application.application.
And this is the Owen on application, the first application.
Now we want scene.scene, stage.stage, all those great things. Scene.control.content display. Scene.control.label. Now for this one, we are going to use the image library. Not as much as we will here in a bit. So we also want scene.image.image view. Scene.layout.hbox. Scene.layout.stackpane. Scene.paint.color. Scene.shape.circle. Scene.shape.rectangle. And then finally, scene.shape.ellipse. Is somebody just coughing out there, or is it worse? You hear it? Don't hear it? Now I want to update my class statement to extend our application. Put in my unsigned override and my public start. Oops. Get our stage set up. It's what?
I've already got Javadoc notation. Something must have been more.
Now we're going to be using that flag display or image, and I was just going to look in my existing projects. I just don't really remember when we used that. There it is. Listing 14_9. We use the images that have the flag. So when I look at 14.9, can I copy this images package? It gives me an option to copy it. So I'm going to try to copy that package. And I'm going to go to the project that I'm working on, the 16.1, and I'm going to click on source packages because I want to paste that package within the source packages and see if I can paste. Voila, it worked. Now you should have your us.gif image. Paste it in source packages. Now, if you don't have that image, just come along with us anyways, and then we'll get it fixed for you. because remember, we won't get any sort of syntax error from a file not being found. That doesn't occur until runtime. So it'll be okay. So if you've got that created, great. That'll save us a bunch of time if we're able to do it that way. Now, the first thing we want to do in our start method is create an image view object. And our image view is going to be named US. And it's going to be equal to a new image view. And if you remember from a couple chapters ago, this image view object is a connection to an image. So it's going to be a new anonymous image. And we saw that there was a lot of different ways we could do that. We're going to use our images package /us.gif is our image name there. Now again, you shouldn't get any sort of errors on that, even if you don't have that image. It won't give us trouble until we run it. Let's go ahead and create a label. We're going to call this label LBL. It's going to be a new label. And this is the information that we're going to put in it. It's going to have US \n. So it should go to a new line, right? And then after that, we want 50 states. And also in our label, we want to add that image or image view named US that we just created. So we're saying here we want to create a new label, and inside that label, we're going to have US, then on a new line, we're going to have 50 states, and beside that step, we should have this image view object. We're putting them both into that label. Now, once we've got that label created, we can change some of its settings. Whenever you're looking at this and I'm typing it, those are L's, lowercase L's. I know it can look like they're ones, especially that second one, but it really is a L. So the first method we want to use is set style. And the set style method is the one we saw last time where we could use CSS code to update things. So we're going to set our border color to green and our border width to 2. Also for that label, we want to use the set content display method. Say we would like the content to display at the bottom. We're going to set our text fill to red. So that's our first label. Now we're going to create another label, LB2. It's also going to be a new label, and in this label we want to have the text circle and an actual circle object. So we're going to declare this anonymous circle as a circle object with, with measurements 50, 50, and 25. Now for this label, let's set our content display to the top. And we're going to set our text fill. Now they are setting it to a color of orange. We'll just keep creating them here. So each of our labels, we're putting these different shape objects inside our label. So let's do label 3. It's a new label, and we'll call it rectangle. And we want this to be a new rectangle. And we want it to be 10, 10, 50, and 25. Now for our label 3, we're not going to do as much with it. We're going to do the set content display. And we want to set it to the right. Next, label 4. This label is going to say ellipse. And it's going to have a new ellipse inside of it that is 50, 50, 50, 25. And then we'll do the set content display to set it to the left. Now a couple more objects, because we would like a really full screen here and want to look at a bunch of different objects. Let's set up an ellipse that's outside of a label. We'll call it ellipse. Same measurements, 50, 50, 50, and 25. So I'm mad at you if you forget that new keyword, huh? Okay, so our ellipse here, let's do some things with its property. First, we want to set the stroke, and let's make that a color of green. And then we want to set the fill to white. Green, white, okay, now they'd like a stack pane. So let's call our stack pane. Sometimes they call it pane. And then we'll do a stack pane dot get children. And then we want to do an add all. And what we're going to add to our stack pane are ellipse and then a new label that says Java FX. Lots of different things that we're going to create here. Now, after our stack pane, let's create label 5, LB5. In this one, we want its text to say a pane inside a label. And we're going to add that to our stack pane. Or add our stack pane to the label. I said that backwards, sorry. So in the end, we're going to end up kind of like our earlier creations. This one, we created things in a little bit different of an order. Finally, for LB5, let's set our content display. And we want it to be at the bottom. Finally, we're going to create an H box, and we're going to name it pane. So this is the one that's going to be our main pane. And it's going to be a new H box. Now we're ready to add everything to it. So pane.getChildren. Add all. And what do we want to add? We want to add LBL, sorry, LB2, LB3, LB4, and LB5. Finally, we're ready to create our scene and put this pane in there. So we'll make it 450 by 150. We'll update our title on our primary stage. Label with graphic. We'll set our scene. And lastly, we'll show our stage. And then in our start, our main, I'm sorry, let's do our launch. Some of the best commenting that I saw in grading was there are some that had commented every line. I think that's just such a great idea. We have a lot going on here, so you might need to do that. Let's run it. Excuse me, got all choked up. Here's, I think, what we should see. Let me make mine a little bit bigger because it's kind of hard to see it all. But we should see US with 50 states underneath it because we did that new line. And then our flag. We should have a circle with the word circle under it. Our rectangle word should be beside the rectangle. Our ellipse. And then finally, our last one is the pane inside a label. What's it doing to you? Let me bring up the code. My code disappeared. There it is. Image.
I'm not sure where I'm started on that. It looks like.
So create. Right click on your search packages and create. Yeah, that should not.
That was it.
What's it?
is, yes.
Oh,
So it's,
oh.
he doesn't know which
That
one.
would be-
Okay.
Good job. And then set.
Then your S is kind of long.
Yeah, lowercase.
Thank you.
Yeah, mine was just a-
Yeah. Oh, working?
That's the way to go.
You say? Oh, I didn't do mine.
Oh, yeah.
You start using it for space.
Okay, that's all right. So right click.
Is it a nice long list?
62, where you get that one?
Well, no, you're getting the images.
Always the same numbers. 62 and 43.
Like related to what you're talking about last
Not like these, you know, it's not finding the image for what it is.
so much easier.
Try to lower it case and then yeah, it looks like it's. No, not that one, not that one, one inside.
This side?
Yeah. And now try that.
Oh, yours is beautiful. It's all right. It's dying.
I'd be tempted to ask her, but it looks to me. See how that says one dash? That's what this, that's where it is. Change that. Get it to 100. I want to install this. No, you did that right. My bad. My bad. Oh, you had it right first. No, sorry. Not right. There you go. So it's just, it wasn't finding this other one. Yeah. See what mine did? No, we don't.
Can you take
Same thing. It's exactly what it is.
flag and you go?
Patriotic. All right.
I
Yeah.
have every day.
That is not-
I think you've taught him.
Now I gotta
Let
go
me
home.
release it
Add him to the
so you
picture,
can
yeah.
take it. Okay, David's going to take control to show us how to do the Javadoc. All righty, sir. He's got it. Let me move you. Hang on, hang on. Let me move you. Oh,
So did you get your card?
As far as working, I'm done with that. I'm move on to the other.
it won't let me get it. Okay, there we go. You lost the option. See? That's what it's doing to me. Okay, can you see it? Now we can see David up here. He's looking because NetBeans is a bear.
Right here.
The Javadoc. Do what? Take control of this thing, sure. Or how to make our Javadoc go. Do what?
Yeah. Can't even put it on.
Now it's come back up where I can swipe it.
It does.
So
It has.
seriously,
Kick me out of the.
Share it. Come on.
Whenever you have a file selected, you'll have analyze Javadoc.
Okay.
Then it'll show you the file path. And by going down to these two, you're able to take select it. And it's a missing. I think it's starting creator.
So we're just checking what they've selected.
Yeah, because mine's gone now. I don't have it.
What's the so there's other things. We're supposed to change.
It's not working. Something's changed. The NetBeans install is different, and it's just not working right. We used to not be able to do it, and then we were able to for a little while. But it doesn't look like it's working, so we'll keep trying to figure it out. Because this is definitely a new version of NetBeans. Because it is different than it was. Well, it should look like just like the Oracle documentation. If you go look at something, your Javadoc should look exactly the same.
And you keep throwing random,
It what?
keep throwing random comments into my actual code.
Yeah, I don't think it's working. It's not communicating correctly with their site or something. So let's not waste any more time on it. Thank you for trying. I'll look at it at home because I think something's blocked. So sometimes we can't tell from here. We'll figure it out. But yeah, if we look at Oracle's documentation, it's Javadoc. And that's what we can generate for our code. Okay, what's going on back there, you guys? Did he break it? Trey break it so bad.
It's not recognizing the C file at all.
So it's not using our food.
We already did that.
You did do that?
So we sent it.
It literally throws it.
Go work.
Yes.
All right. They're back there messing with trays. We're messing with Javadoc that doesn't want to cooperate. So let's create another application here. We're going to create one that uses a bunch of different controls. And then we'll kind of build. Those guys back there are not going to stop until they figure it out. Did you get it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm getting a few too many projects here.
Overlaying it sometimes.
Okay, guys, come with us. Let's go. We're going to create a new project. We're never going to get done. This one is going to be listing 16.2, but we're really going to add a lot more to it than that. So let's create a main class named Button Demo to start. Now, when we are creating this one, you guys have done a lot of buttons already. So we're just going to be doing a little bit more with some of the properties that you may not have used and see what else we can do with our buttons. Fix some comments here. Button demo. You as the developer. Slash starter. And those are actually the comments we want for Javadoc. If we can get the Javadoc to work, we will. So our purpose is to demo some buttons here. Now we need a lot of imports. So I want to copy from our last project. See which way is faster. We're not going to need all of them, but I'll copy all of them. And then I'll just make sure it looks like the only one we need that we don't have is a pane and a standard text. So let's add those. We'll have a few we don't need, but that's okay. So we're going to have scene.layout.pane. And then lastly, scene.text.text. And we'll need those. And then we're going to extend our application class. Now for this application, they want us to use some buttons that are just like little right arrows and left arrows. So let's go get something online, and whatever you think, I'm going to search for left and right arrow pick. I'll look at the images that I find. And of course, we're not doing a lot of sizing or anything like that here. I'm going to find a couple that I like. I think I'm going to grab these two because they're separate files. We need separate files. And this greater than, less than image looks a lot like what they display. So I'm just going to right click on one of them and save this image into my pictures library so that I can find it. This would be my left arrow. And then do the same thing with my right arrow. I think I've used those two before. Are you looking at images?
Yes.
It's about halfway down. It says it's pngimage.net. I don't know if that would help. Do you see some? Thank you. Now, once you've got some arrows, let's create a new package in our project for our images. And then I'd like to copy those images that I just got into that package. So I just put them in my pictures folder. I should just be able to go find those. Even though I have lots and lots of things. Here's my left arrow. I think I'll rename it since I have a typo there in its name. Left arrow. It'll be my left arrow. I'm going to drag that into that images folder or package. And then I want my right arrow. So if you look in your images package, you should see both of your arrow pictures. So it looks like a really good place for us to stop. We'll pick this up next time and create our buttons with the images on them. Be reading over chapter 16 and looking at the videos and stuff while you're on your wonderful weekend. Let's check our assignment. Last week you had 2. With the animations, we had 2. And this week we just have 1, like before. And also on week 6, there is a link to all of the textbook example images, those flags and everything that we were trying to find a couple weeks ago. So that zip file is here on this week's stuff. The exercise is going to be demonstrating text field things, like it'll be one where you'll allow the font color of the text to be changed, the font size of the text to be changed, those different things. So it'll be very similar to the practice ones that we'll be finishing up next time. Our date is set to Tuesday, so I think I'll go ahead and change that to Thursday now. Probably just keep our Thursday due dates until we get to spring break, because we're just going to be a little off until then. So we'll make that one be the 28th. That way we'll have a chance to talk about it a little bit more on Tuesday before that one's due. So I think that should do us. Any questions? I think that's the only thing we got. That other stuff is disabled where it's not going to be coming after you. So that should be it. Yes, sir?
So the files were already submitted for like the projects. Are you going to count off for the comments, or can we go back and change the comments?
We can go back and change the comment.
Okay.
To do that, that would be great. I would much rather do that than take off.
Me too.
A copy of this, so I don't know what I did wrong. So I did a create file, now copy and paste. That's what that's there. We can read me, it's not.
Oh, yeah.
That's when you switch away.
The whole, like, project. As long as you're like on one page.
Yeah, because this is rendering always different.
So make
You
it
can't
easy.
do it for all.
We need that.
But if you're working on one file.
Yeah. Okay.
That would good. Their format too, like your code. So like,
That's what it is.
like
Like
add a line.
indented. Do
Like
edit.
you know, list of like all your input stuff and do it out. Oh shit.
Yeah. I knew I had changed it somehow. You make it. I love it when I do it to you guys and it makes me have 50 comments in yours. Oh, I think you're like, let's see the more.
Like if you had all these.
There we go. That's all.
Yes, sir. Just accept it and merge them. Did you put that one?
It's going. One assignment down to this.
The ones tonight or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got to go to the clock. I don't know where I started it, but it's not on my drive. So
It just adds it to those files.
And then it should just kind of go
you'll do fine. Where are we supposed to submit to?
The link to where it is and the file for your comment.
And I never saw anything.
File filter.
Yeah, because we're not supposed to be using that program submission document.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
So if it's a resubmit, you might not see a grade. Yeah, it's hard to grade. So those ones I have to redo, they go way down to the bottom of the to-do list, so.
I was just kind of like.
You do.
Figure out where your main project is. So let's see. So which one are you?
This is the one.
Okay, and then you just copy this one right there. And the review should be down here. Okay. And that'll show you what space will go on.
So I don't need anything there.
Just here. What's an area you cost you now?
I don't
like
know.
your bullshit. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. Mine's little.
My cousin lived in he lives in Hawaii, so he's not getting it that year.
Oh.
But
And that's what killed me. I got the clock on
the lifesaver because it lasts forever.
Yeah, mine does too.
Like I just leave it in my car. Go get it.
Yeah, it's just
because
it's not
I'm
like
not pretty sure I'll take it.
Just try to figure out where it's got to re-pull it down. If you can find it.
Yeah, it should have been on the drive. So it's not on the drive, it's on the computer.
Because I can see those there.
Oh, darn it.
Did you ever meet with
Like meeting up to hang out.
Yeah.
I almost did, but I was supposed to go hang out.
Was there a sound sheet today?
I got it. You're okay.
I think I missed it.
Yeah,
almost
so
every
like,
day.
so stressed out.
Really?
Well, his boss threw out like a whole project out that his boss knew that it was over his skill. He just wanted to see how it was.
Who's this?
Frankie.
Frankie. I was wondering. So how did he do? We're all
He's
dying.
doing
with him.
pretty good so far.
So far.
He's at the study a lot outside of it.
Has he?
But
They're gonna make him
Yeah,
work for it, huh?
he's doing, like,
If he
JavaScript
makes it
stuff.
this first 6 months, he'll do fantastic.
He's set, huh? Whoa,
Or
that's
I
so
should say, if he
exciting.
makes it to graduation, if he makes it to May, he'll be fine.
That is so great.
But I think his job's like JavaScript or like some kind of framework with it. So he's doing different things. I don't even understand.
Excited. That's so neat.
I think he was just beating himself up over it. And he's like, well, I didn't learn what I'm doing in my job in school.
No way. I don't think you ever do. It
I was gonna
doesn't
say you
matter.
don't. I'm like, we'll learn basics, but
Yeah.
current stuff, the stuff changes so often.
Oh yeah, and it's just.
Like you could be doing something different at your job a month later.
Well, and like at Conoco, they had a big training program, and so we were in training for 6 months, and they couldn't teach us what we were going to do at the job. You know, they were at the same company, but it's still going to be different when you get started. Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Okay, good. I like those.
One second.
No, I'm kidding. I like it best when you guys decide the answer on your own.
I saw it on my phone.
I have it. I got it.
I don't know what it was.
Michael's going to do Java all spring break. That's why he was asking about spring break plans. He's going to do
Well, I
Java.
actually got to remodel the house.
Oh my goodness. How are you going to do that? Like the whole house?
It was just the upstairs, so we got to finish the drywall. And we're going to do the floor.
Just a few things.
Well, I mean, I've already demoed it. So
Have you?
electrical's done up there.
Wow.
I don't know.
So how did you have someone do it or did you?
My girlfriend's mom's boyfriend.
Oh yeah.
Did
Did it?
everything up there.
I just feel like I should be able to watch a YouTube video or two, and I really think I should. My husband knows how to tile. He's a flooring guy, yeah, so he can do that. I'm a wiring person. I mean, with all of this awesome network cabling experience that I have, and my best friend in Carthage was the electronics teacher, so I know how electrical wiring is supposed to work, and I know all those things. But then when you look at it, it's like, maybe I shouldn't touch this because I really don't know what I'm doing. You're good. You think of it?
What? Yeah. I did.
Okay.
So next week I'm planning on doing the big packs thing, the 36-hour.
Oh.
I was gonna see if there's any way I could get like a little bit of leeway for the projects that are due.
Sure, because since you're going to that thing, if you fill out that extra credit
Okay.
deal, then I'll give you extra credit
It
that would probably offset your project.
Okay, yeah, just extend it just a little bit because that's what I usually do.
Mhm.
Program.
Put that in your explanation to me when you turn in the extra credit assignment. Remember, we
Yeah.
talked about this,
Yeah.
and you saw that, because otherwise I'll forget. Awesome. That'll be fun. Are you going to do it with other people from here? Did you find others, or just?
I posted
I remember that. You hadn't.
responses. I got one who just submitted his application, so I'm not sure. But
Do you know? Is it someone you know?
No.
No.
he's him and another guy just submitted the application, so hopefully they get it. If they do, then I'll team up with them.
Oh, good.
If not, I can do it by myself.
See what happens. Cool.
Won't get any awards, but
Good experience.
thank you.
Okay. This is Riley.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent as much free time as I had doing homework over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got everything but one done
Awesome.
and finished. And after today, once we looked at some stuff, I was able to fix the problem.
Great.
So I'm gonna put them all on the GitHub. I
Okay.
have to go back through and fix some things to make sure that it's in the format
Mhm.
you want and everything,
Okay.
and do the readmes and stuff. But otherwise, I'm caught up.
Awesome.
I'm going to try and do the other two. I found out what I'm having to do now,
Mhm.
which isn't fun, but it's what's going to have to happen since the NetBeans thing is just not working. I can code everything in Visual Studio
Mm-hmm.
perfectly fine.
Uh-huh.
It's just I email it to myself, I download it here, I make a NetBeans project, and then I can turn it down,
Ew, yuck.
which sucks. But
Uh-huh.
that's
Well, are
what
you
I
being
have.
able to test it on Visual Studio Code at home? I mean, are you at least able to test it, or
I
not
can run
really?
it through. I have to run it through a different. I can run it through a tester, but I
Mhm.
always like to double check it here on
Mhm.
NetBeans just in case. Because
Okay.
like today it had some issues, so I had to go back through and scrap some stuff and fix it before class started, which is why I tried to do it here.
Okay. Well, awesome. That's great
But
news.
that's why when I was sitting there just staring at it, I was having the same error they were having, and I couldn't figure out what was up because
Mhm.
I've never had that image error before.